Hey, Packers, hola, shalom, namaste, assalamu alaikum, bienvenidos. I hope you are well, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you took some time to bring some positive energy into your life over the long weekend. I know as teachers, we appreciated the ability to reach out to some individual students. Obviously, we can't reach out to everybody, but that was super helpful for us. Also, the longer this goes on and the more that I kind of hear from people, talk to people, I really do feel good about the way we're doing things, distance learning wise. Obviously, there's lots of factors involved, but I really feel like in talking to teachers, we're trying to foster as much learning as we can with as many different kinds of students. And that might be frustrating for you on any given day, moving too fast, too slow. But it's a real challenge to try to keep all, what is there, 1,600 of us in the secondary building, kind of pointed in a direction when the tools that we're used to aren't around. So hopefully you had a good weekend. Obviously, the weather was fantastic. I think I convinced the robin, the bird that keeps flying into the windows in our room here, that we are not a threat. We started calling him Glenn the robin because that's just a good name to yell. No offense if your dad's name is Glenn or anything. All right. So we've got kickoff to our new unit today because, as far as I know, except for maybe two reassessments out there, we're done with Unit 7, World War II. So much rich stuff there, and so many people who know their families were involved in that part of our history. Really cool. Some things we missed or are celebrating or looking at. May 1st is Labor Day for most of the world, not for us in the United States, but a lot of places around the world on the 1st, while we had our long weekend, were celebrating workers. And one of the things to come out of this terrible pandemic is hopefully a newfound respect for workers who are doing a lot of hard work right now, whether it's a teenager cleaning off the keypads at Target, or whether it's a nurse in a hospital, or whether it's the person who's delivering the groceries either to your house or to the grocery store itself. So that was something that a lot of people around the world were reflecting on, is the importance of workers, laborers. And I think we have a new perspective on that, or at least a lot of us do. May 5th, of course, today, Tuesday, May 5th is sometimes referred to as Cinco de Mayo, which of course is Spanish for the 5th of May. Now, before we get into what exactly that means, because unfortunately many people do not know, I want to just take a look here. One, today's do nows and do it too, as always. Today's assignment should be done by Wednesday at midnight, should be done by the time the clock strikes midnight. So if that's, maybe that's the confusing way to say it, right? But you have all day today, all day Wednesday. And before you go to bed on Wednesday, you should finish this intro assignment, which I think everybody will be able to do fairly easily. A few flipped lecture notes and then a few pages in the text. And then here's the radical one. Wow, we have 8 more day 2s. So we have U.S. history class 8 more times until finals. So really there's no way to do all the things that I normally do in trimester 3 because of our schedule, both having alternating days and then also the fact that we're kind of flipping finals and kind of a support week. So just be aware that late work is not something that we can kind of keep kicking down the road. Now, Cinco de Mayo, right, is not Mexican Independence Day, but is kind of an American holiday in a lot of ways, because it's a way that first Mexican and then Mexican Americans and then Latinos in general kind of some have chosen to celebrate their heritage. They're part of the fabric of our society, which is something we're going to look at in this unit, right? But technically, what happened on the 5th of May is France showed up to take over Mexico. And France at the time, now kind of France sometimes is there's some jokes involved in their military, but in reality, in the 1800s, France was booyakasha, big time, mean business. But on the 5th of May, Mexico won this huge upset battle, kicking the French out of this particular part of Mexico. Now, ultimately, France did take over Mexico briefly before the Mexican people fought back and reclaimed their country. So, really, what this holiday signifies for a lot of people in the United States, at least, is the proud history of Mexican and Mexican American culture. So that's why I have this beautiful mural up here. It's not really, even in Mexico, about the battle, except for maybe in the town where the battle happened. It's really about celebrating Mexican American culture, not the same as, say, a St. Patrick's Day, but the idea that people are proud of who they are and where they've come from. And not everybody makes a big deal about it, but for a lot of people, it will be a big deal. St. Paul, notorious for having a big Cinco de Mayo parade, obviously called off this year. So those are the two things. May 1st, Labor Day for workers. May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. So last week, just 3 things real quickly. We reviewed assessment 7.1, and I felt good about that. Could you turn it in? Yes. On Monday, we had a discussion, digital obviously, on dropping the atomic bomb. People brought up so many great points. What about the environment, right? There are parts of Ukraine, formerly the Soviet Union, where there was a nuclear accident, not a bomb, but an accident. And there are parts where you still can't go, dating back to the 1980s. So it still has had impact on that. So you brought up the environmental concerns. And then the reason this is such a fascinating discussion is you get into this gross idea of weighing lives, right? So civilian lives versus military life, US life versus Japanese life. If we had been together, we would have spent some time looking at what's called the firebombing of Tokyo to kind of put things in perspective. If you're a real World War II junkie, go ahead and look that up. But that's what we did on Monday. On Wednesday, we looked at some of the cultural changes that the war brought about, including where this phrase, okay, boomer, comes from, essentially because of World War II. The United States, just like they did when they offered free land in the United States, which convinced a lot of Europeans to come in the 1800s, in the 1900s, the United States invited a lot of workers from Mexico to come to the United States. So there's all these cultural changes that World War II impacted as well. And then, as I always say, learning is the goal. So if you need more time, right, we don't have a ton of it, but you should turn it in. Late work is always better than no work as far as your grades are concerned. And now what you're going to talk about today is the start of this new unit about civil rights, which is not always, but it also sometimes about race in the United States, right? So I love this unit so much because it's rich in history, but also in continuing on today. But we need to get more comfortable talking about civil rights. Now, we won't have as much time to talk about it, but it's still important that we think about it and write about it. We need to be able to accept different viewpoints as long as you feel safe, right? As long as you feel respected, you can accept somebody else's viewpoint, and that's where we have to be comfortable talking about it. And then we need to understand where we've been, because a lot of the issues that we're arguing about today has some history, has some explanation on why it's going on the way that it is. And we need to understand that there are still disparities in different groups. The pandemic is affecting certain groups more than others. And regardless of why that is, I think we can agree there shouldn't be some people that suffer more from this pandemic. Obviously, if your body is older, that's something we can't control. But certain groups, racial groups and otherwise, are being impacted by this. So there's things going on here. Love this cover from National Geographic about 2 years ago, just to show that race is kind of a goofy idea. Those are twin sisters right there. And we can get into the science of that, but I'm trying to always keep this under 10 minutes. So late work is always accepted. I care about you and would appreciate an email or just a Schoology heads up. Let me know how you're doing. And then what you're going to be doing today for work is simply watching a little bit of a flipped lecture and reading 3 pages in the text. The Unit 8 intro assignment. So all the best to you. Please let me know if there's some mistakes or something that I need to fix. A lot of you have been really diligent about that, and I appreciate that. And take care. Hope you have a good day.